This episode of Inside the Game is brought to you by MSI Gaming. The game just got real. Head to our website at insidethegame.ca, where there you can hit up on the MSI link to get all your PC gaming needs. Now, let's get on with the show. What's up, everybody? We are Inside the Game, your one-stop shop for everything cool in video games. You want to be a part of the show? Then head to insidethegame.ca, where there you can submit your clip and be a highlight of the week. Now, we got another jam-packed episode with interviews, reviews, and a whole lot more. Scott and I are jumping in the world of Stormland. Nate's kicking down doors, and we got an interview with a card game. Nice twist for the episode, so let's get started with the Inside Scoop. So Ghost Recon Breakpoint saw the addition of a raid come to the platform, which is kind of interesting as it was the first time that Breakpoint, or Ghost Recon for that matter, has seen anything like this. But they haven't stopped yet, as they're bringing a two narrative missions from the iconic 1984 The Terminator. We get two of these missions, we're getting new vehicles, weapons, and all that starts January 29th.
EA has reported some staggering numbers. Microtransactions might actually be here to stay because EA has reported that in the last quarter alone, they've made almost $1 billion. Now, the prior 12 months before that was $2.8 billion of revenue for them. So this is something that's gonna be here to stay. Unfortunately, for games like Jedi: The Fallen Order, we weren't really expecting that to be quite a big drop in the bucket, but that game is a lead contributor to this quarter's growth.
All right, Apex Legends, we finally got word on Season 4 Assimilation. Yep, the new character Revenant looks absolutely awesome in this trailer. They kind of give you this bit of backstory about how he became an assassin, and you're not fully given all the answers, but oh my goodness, this trailer looks super cool. We got a little bit of information about a new bolt action sniper and a little bit of details on the battle pass. Check out this trailer as it's a tease of who the new character is.
I've got a cool title that's coming to the PC platform. I'm talking about Efi. This is a puzzle exploration platforming game with a mix of combat and an open world genre. It's very cool. And if you want my opinion, you can also check out Nate's, as we reviewed it when it came to the PlayStation 4 exclusive.
Now, we took a look at a game, Don't Die Minerva, that's in early access right now. Now, the developer has come out with a roadmap of things that are being added towards the game. Now, they're going to focus on dungeon variety and changing up some of the enemy types right off the start. There's achievements coming in March and a lot of new additives along the road all the way to a full release in summer 2020.
So the new service by Microsoft, Project xCloud, it is getting a little bit better and sweeter. We got a little details on this new controller by Razer, and Phil Spencer himself praised this in Twitter. So you have to check out this design. It looks sweet because now you can play Destiny 2 on your phone. Check it out. Phil Spencer teases with the peripheral on Twitter, thanks to Minnie Langton and the team at Razer for early access to the Razer Kishi. Pretty great way to play Project xCloud. Basically killed any productivity I might have had in meetings today. Sorry, Karam Cowdrey.
Xbox Live's Games for Gold for February have been announced. At the beginning of the month, we have TT Isle of Man, and we have Fable Heroes. At the end of the month, we have Call of Cthulhu and Battlefront 1, the original. On the PlayStation side of things, for the month of February, they're giving away the BioShock Collection, Sims 4, and Firewall 0 Hour.
Alright, fellow space cowboys and cowgirls, we just got news from Obsidian Entertainment that The Outer Worlds is coming to the Nintendo Switch, and I'm ecstatic. This is one of my favorite RPGs from last year, and if you haven't checked it out, you definitely need to check it out in March when it comes out.
So Google Stadia is getting a bit of flack over on Reddit. They've announced some games that are coming to Stadia Pro. We're going to be getting Guilt and Metro Exodus, but they're also going to be taking away Tomb Raider and Samurai Showdown. Now those just came to the platform not too long ago, and to take those away is a little concerning already, as the system is limited. It is very limited already, and that's the biggest problem. And Google is having this bit of a lack of communication, and that's where people are getting concerned. They said over at Google that they understand our frustrations, but that's all they've said. So it kind of makes me, as a user, a little concerned in the future of Stadia, especially with Project xCloud just around the corner.
All right, Scott, you ready to breach and clear? Right, let's go.
Charge up! Agents on the scene.
This week, Nate, we checked out Door Kicker's Action Squad. Now this is a little different of a game. It's kind of a side-scroller, action-y, arcade type of game.
Yeah.
And just jumping into it, what was your first thoughts?
So first thoughts, love the music, man. It struck me home with this kind of Super Nintendo rock and roll, side-scrolling action game. And, there's not a lot to this game, but
terribly,
definitely a game that you can kind of just pick up, play, maybe for a little bit, and just crush out a couple missions.
That definitely seems to be the kind of direction they went with this game, because the levels are not very long, but there's a lot of them. So it kind of gets you into this jump in, jump out kind of gameplay. You have a bunch of different characters you can select and level them up. They play a little bit differently, mostly just the equipment they use. And then you go from there. There's a zombie mode on top of that, a little bit interesting. I'm a fan of zombies myself, but the mode is kind of a little weird. It just puts zombies in the normal mode.
Yeah, so like you said, there's basically 3 modes. There's Horde mode, where it's just endless waves or whatever, and then there's the zombie mode, and then there's the regular terrorist mode. And the zombie mode, like you said, it's the exact same maps, everything is the same, but instead of just having hostages that you're walking around and saving, there's now these zombie spawns. And actually, the one thing I did enjoy about it was kind of, sometimes you could, as you're walking along, it'll show the room above you, and you actually get to see the fight happen before your eyes. So that I actually did enjoy. It was kind of funny.
That's cool, because the zombies weren't just an enemy to you, they're an enemy to everybody. And I guess you're a SWAT officer just kicking in doors and arresting people, saving hostages. So it added a little bit of difficulty there, because if you take too long, I imagine the zombies will get to those hostages before you will.
Yes, that's just it. A big thing, like we said, is the hostages. So there's a star system, and to obtain 3 stars, depending on the map, you either have to A, rescue all the hostages without any of them getting killed, and you can't die. Hard, yeah. Which this game does bring challenge. In the first few chapters, there's not too much variety, and there's not, it's hard at the beginning because your character's unupgraded.
And it depends what character you are. If you have that big shield in front of you, you're understandably going to last a lot longer. Now, if you're using the shotgun like me, you're going to have a hard time saving the hostages. That kind of just
usually,
hostages.
Man, there's a lot of times where I would just open a door and I just unload my gun and be like, and I killed the hostage.
That was the wrong room.
Sorry. But it's funny.
So one thing that I found about this game that was not as was enjoyable was the noises the hostages keep making. There's some repetitive sounds that come up in this game a little bit, and I'm kind of nitpicking. It wasn't too bad. The other audio just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, man. Like there were some lines that your the players that you play as say that were kind of funny, but all in all, when you hear yes, thank you, yes, thank you,
8 times the level, it's too much.
80 times the level sometimes, like it does get a little tiresome. So we kind of mentioned earlier that there's a bit of a progression system. So there's your overall experience points that you obtain that you can then put in towards certain skill points.
Usually related to your character and the items that they have.
Yeah, so like some will be like reload speed, or you take less damage from melee, certain things like that, which are great. But there's also an overall level that helps between all your characters. Now, that's a pretty important thing to do, to level up that right away.
I'm a fan of that system because when you have the ability to play something longer lasting than just a quick jump in, jump out, I'm a big fan of that. That brings me into the game, that depth.
So one thing that they have is the multiplayer feature. So the online co-op, unfortunately, we both had some issue where we just couldn't find any lobbies.
Yeah, that is a big setback. But at the same time, I'm still glad that they have it in there. The ability to go couch co-op as well. It just
that's a huge plus.
That's a big deal for a game like this, where you want to have that second player to just jump through it with you.
Yeah.
Similar to the audio, I really think the visuals were well done in this game, but especially when you get into these zombie matches, there's a lot happening on the screen in the flash of a second, and a lot of these things get lost kind of in translation. When you're moving from room to room, it's a little hard to realize what you're seeing before you're shooting it.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes I had a little bit of issues like that. All right, Scott, so all in all, we had a pretty decent time with this game, dude. Now, what's your verdict here?
So I have an interesting take on this game. I like the action of it, but the story wasn't really there to keep me in it. I like the quick-paced action again, but there's not a lot of depth to it beyond kind of your character. So this game is good. I enjoyed it, but it just kind of is a smaller package. It's something that I wouldn't normally spend that much time on, so I have to give this one a 6 out of 10.
All right, man, I'm actually right there with you. I overall liked the game. The music was really fun.
The music is a big standout.
It was fantastic. And, you know, being able to upgrade your character was cool, but it lacked the depth of having a kind of this even somewhat of an underlying story. So I'm right there with you, dude. 6.
Door Kickers is a small-sized action game with a lot of replayability. Gameplay is fun, but more story elements would greatly improve the experience.
All right, this week for review, I got Earthfall, Alien Horde.
Swarm coming! Everybody stay focused!
They are not taking us down.
Stand tall, people. Time to fight!
All right, so I got my hands on Earthfall, Alien Horde on the Nintendo Switch, and I have some mixed feelings with this game. This is kind of your classic beat 'em up, shoot 'em up style game like Left 4 Dead or like Vermintide 2, which I've already reviewed on the show. So I like this, but heading into it, the alien design, you know, it's basically things we've seen in every other style of these games. You have your threshers, they call them, where they come in and they grab you and try to drag you off the map. Or they have your other characters that blow acid all over the place. So within the design, the aliens looked cool, but not too much originality. The game offers 2 modes, where you have your campaign mode and then your invasion mode. Now, my personal favorite actually was the invasion mode. This struck home kind of like this Call of Duty Zombies mode, where you have to survive 20 waves, but then throughout that, you have kind of a couple little objectives where you have to, keep moving on and expanding the map. I actually really liked it, being able to build barricades and then not so much upgrade your weapon as much as your character. So just having a couple little things instead of it just being point A to point B like the campaign, it kind of added some variety. So they offer 2 different campaigns, and you can kind of pick any of the missions however you want. You don't have to play them in order, as the story is, it's a disconnected story. There's not really, from point A to point Z. It's kind of just random missions where you're out getting supplies or trying to save people or survivors. So that's pretty much it. And within the missions, the objectives, there's not a lot of difference. You have to either go fill a gas tank and then fill the car, and then this part of the car doesn't work, so I have to go and grab the battery. So it didn't hook me like some of these other games where you have some more variety. Now there is a bit of a progression system, which I can appreciate because they didn't focus too heavily on the RPG side of things, but they do have something there. They have your overall character level, which by completing matches or dying or failing, whatever you do, you get experience points, which then kind of unlock a battle pass sort of system where you can get different skins for different characters or different weapons or weapon charms. So that was kind of nice as a free, level progression. And there's also the addition of if you kill, let's say, enemies with 500 grenades, then you get to carry an extra grenade. So those are very long term. You have your very long term that will take you many playthroughs to kind of unlock certain things, whereas then there's your battle pass kind of level progression. So a big thing with this game is it is co-op. Now you can, like a lot of these games, you get to play with AI, and something I appreciated was that you can select your AI's skill level, and they have quite the options between easy, noobish to masterful. So if you want to play missions on harder difficulties and you don't want to struggle with dumb AI, they kind of give you that option, which I really appreciated. Big downfall though with this co-op kind of side of things is that there's friendly fire, and your teammates aren't always that smart. Even on the higher settings, they still have a tendency to just kind of run out in front of your shotgun or your flamethrower as you're mowing down the enemies. So that kind of annoyed me because every time you do that, they kind of yell at you like, "Don't shoot me!" But it's like, you ran in front of me. So that kind of bugs me. But that'll to say, the co-op you can play with up to 3 of your friends together online, or through like a kind of a local LAN thing. So I really appreciated that, and that's where this game shines. Alright, so wrapping things up, Earthfall Alien Horde, I had a pretty decent experience with this. Some of the disconnects with the AI not being the brightest, even on their higher settings, and just, not a lot of depth within the maps and even the alien creatures. Still, had a lot of fun being able to play with my friends and just be able to mow down waves and waves of aliens, so I'm gonna have to give this one a 6. Earthfall Alien Horde is a decent shoot 'em up, beat 'em up game that provides a simple yet fun mission layout. Lacking variety and objectives to complete, and with different types of monsters, the game's progression system at least helps add some depth. Invasion mode hits home with the horde mode, zombie mode feels from the good old days.
Here's my interview with Assad from Haunted Castle Gaming, talking about his new card game, Genesis: Battle of Champions. I'm Scott, and I'm here with Assad from Haunted Castle Gaming. Now, Assad, we're here with a card game. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this one?
Cool. So Genesis is a tactical collectible card game. We're in the same space as games like Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! but we have a completely different twist on the game.
Okay.
So instead of just being a player behind your hand, sending your creatures out to fight for you, we wanted to actually put you in the game, being a fighter, being a mage, and you actually are engaging with combat yourself.
Oh, okay.
So you get to pick a character, play as that character, engage in combat, and it's a lot more about a tactical element of the game. Movement, direction, distance, that matters a lot more than the actual cards in your hand and how you play the card.
Oh, okay, so there's a little bit of positioning on the board
Yeah.
and that kind of a thing worked into it. That's very cool. Now, this is not quite the traditional video game thing at EGLX, but how do you find the turnout, the response here?
I think it's been really wonderful in a few different ways. So one is sometimes people just want to break from staring at screens all day. And coming to a physical card game is a really great way to do that. The other is there are a lot of people who are coming here and they actually play a lot of board games. So to see one that's not a video game, it's like, Green Thumb, or like, it just stands out from all the other games that are here. And then the other thing is a lot of parents are bringing their kids to this space. And yes, it's great for kids to understand what games are, get those experiences, get those learning moments. But at the same time, it's good to unplug.
Yes.
And parents love bringing their kids to this booth because then they get to play an actual tabletop game. They get to interact with another human, build friendships, build those connections. And I think that's really important for kids to get that full spectrum. For kids to get that full spectrum of the gaming experience, not just video games, but also the physical side of it.
Yeah, well, I think the physical side of the game is very important. Now, did you have any sort of personal reason for wanting to make a physical game as opposed to the digital version of this, perhaps, or?
Yeah, so there's actually two big reasons. So one, you need to know a little bit about my background. I actually have a degree in computer science.
Awesome.
I worked as a software QA. I've been programming since I was about 7 years old. I've been in the digital space most of my life. But on top of that, I've been playing card games on the side the rest of my time. So I've been playing Magic since Ice Age, so like 95 I started playing. And then I just jumped from game to game and I just kept on playing card games. I love cards. I think they're really, really cool. And learning how to shuffle them, learning how to just hold them, it's a good feeling for me. But then the other side to it is, I think as a game designer, if you just make digital games, it's very easy to fall into the trap of no longer recognizing that your end user are humans.
Yes.
And they need to have that human experience. They need to connect with other humans. If you make it purely on digital side, I've seen way too many companies then start thinking of their end user as, how do I get the most amount of money from you? How do I get you addicted to my game? And all these negative aspects, where in the physical game, you have to recognize that the humans, they are spending hard-earned cash.
That's right.
And they are meeting you face-to-face. So if they have an issue with you, you can't hide.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, getting in the physical thing, at least we're out of loot boxes. Opening a pack of cards is much better.
Yes.
Now, where do you see the future of this card game? Where can we get it?
So when it comes to picking up the game, we are selling in a bunch of hobby shops here in Southern Ontario.
Okay.
All that information's on our website, which is genesisbattleofchampions.com.
Okay.
So there's a store locator there. You can actually buy products straight off of our website. And then we're also selling on Amazon.
All right, thank you very much. That's
All right,
that.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this week I'm taking on the Winds of Magic by myself in Vermintide 2's latest DLC. Alright, so this week I got my hands on the latest DLC, Winds of Magic for Warhammer Vermintide 2. And coming into this, I had a little bit of mixed feelings, but after I played it a little bit more, I am absolutely in love with this. So with this package, it brings one new campaign mission and this new kind of horde mode. Now the one campaign mission was slightly disappointing. Not that the mission was in any way, it was a ton of fun and it was great. but there's only one campaign mission. My favorite part about this is kind of grinding your way with your main character and, you know, playing through all these campaigns, because their campaigns offer so much, and that's what this does. In this map, you can go this way or you can go this way, and then if you go one way, it opens up a whole kind of list of other things you can do. That's one thing they nail with this, is their map design is next to none. They have so much cool stuff packed in it. So to start things off, they kind of just put you on this cliffside, which, like every other map in this game, it kind of just has this nice different setting. Nothing looks the same, everything somehow just feels fresh. And with this DLC, they did that. In the campaign, they kind of start you off and things look a little bit rugged, but then when you finally encounter some remains of these creatures, you encounter the Beastmen. And that's a big thing with this update, is they introduced a new faction or race, the Minotaurs. Growing up, I loved Minotaurs. They were one of my favorite fantasy creatures, so being able to fight them in this game was fantastic. They did a great job. They added new elite characters, they added a new boss, the really big Minotaur. Oh my goodness, it is menacing and terrifying. So along with the single campaign mission, they've added what they've called the Weave mode. And I personally thought this was really great. It's not just this randomly generated maps with random hordes with random objectives. There actually is a backstory to it. Within this, you're trying to attune the winds of magic or gather essence from defeated creatures with your enchanted weapons to try and help this massive spell that's taking place. So within the weaves, there are different variations, like some of them you kill an enemy and it drops a little orb that chases you down and then blows up, which with this, I had a little bit of issues. I played with some bots sometimes, and the bots for some reason just weren't smart enough to avoid the orbs. If they were chasing me, then it was fine, the AIs would have dodged them, but anytime that I kind of got far away from them, they would just go down back and forth. So with the weaves as well, there's a whole new progression system. Now I had a little bit of mixed feelings with this as well, as I don't have all my characters maxed out, and the one, you know, my main character, to start fresh, to feel like a complete noob again was a little bit rough, but that'll just say the grind wasn't too bad. After playing just a few quick play weaves, you get lots of essence, which this essence is a huge part of this. There are 4 main things that you have to upgrade. There's your primary weapon, your melee weapon, or your ranged weapon, and then they have 2 things called your anther level, which is kind of like your overall level, and then your amulet as well. So it's a little convoluted at first, but once you kind of look at it and you slowly upgrade them individually with these essence that you collect, it really kind of expands the game. So in addition to the new map and this new weave mode and the new progression system, we actually got some new weapons. Now this was kind of refreshing because I love the spear on my personal favorite, Kieran, and then I got the spear and shield on the handmaiden subclass within her. That made me pumped. I love both those, and just having new weapons just spices up the game a little more, where you can kind of grind towards maybe a new weapon. So one of the biggest downfalls of this is the matchmaking. Now this has kind of been an issue with this game since the beginning, so you know, playing it again and it not being fully resolved and almost a little bit worse at times kind of disappointed me, but that all to say, it doesn't take away from the game in any way. It happened just a little bit. And honestly, one of the greatest things about this game is the audio and the visuals.
Remember your training, mates.
You walked right into it. You're supposed to celebrate.
Within the weaves, they add all sorts of cool effects to the map, and it really just changes it up and makes it feel different. And the Minotaurs, like I said, they sound and look incredible, and the war drums that they play is again new and refreshing. It's just fantastic. So the Winds of Magic DLC was, in my opinion, fantastic. At first I had some mixed feelings, but once I kind of understood the progression system and the upgrading system, it really hooked me. And the new creatures and the audio is just fantastic. They keep knocking this game out of the park. I'm gonna give this one an 8.
Flashing fades.
There may be a lot of them, but they don't stand a chance.
Warhammer Vermintide 2's latest DLC installment, Winds of Magic, was a great addition to the game. Offering one new campaign mission provided a lot of depth within it, but I would have loved to have just gotten one more. The Beastmen are both menacing and wicked, and are introduced to the story in a great way. The new progression system, along with new weapons and the weave system, this DLC is a must-have.
Need help, person.
The first half of the Rainbow Six Pro League is under wraps, and here's the coverage. Check it out.
So heading straight into it, we had a lot of amazing matchups to close off the first half of the season. The first match was between the notorious Team Reciprocity against E United on the map Border. Team Reciprocity were on the attack for the first half, and with this map often being more in the favor of the attackers, E United really stepped up their game. The fans were completely blindsided as the votes were in Team Reciprocity's favor massively. E United, like I've stated in the past, is a newly found team, so to see them come through against one of the titans of the North American League with a 7-5 victory was great. This victory was a very important one, as Team Reciprocity needed to win this to solidify getting third place. They didn't, and they lost, and it really hurt them. Now the second matchup was a bit more of a lopsided match and shocking, with arguably two of the best teams dueling it out. Dark Zero has a really strong roster and has been doing exceptionally well this year. However, this did not stop TSM from stepping up their game with a 7-2 victory on Clubhouse. Seeing the votes as they were didn't come as much of a shock with this match's outcome. TSM's utilization with Maverick was next to none, and I actually personally learned a few things watching this match. Now, despite this matchup being such a blowout, there were some amazing highlights on both sides. Let's check them out. Third match was another blowout and actually a complete shocker. Tempo Storm facing Evil Geniuses on Cafe was a marvel to watch as Tempo Storm started on the defense. Their playstyle was unique and was something that you don't see commonly in the Pro League. They kept control of each floor and would work their way up from the bottom floor with each round as they won. Funnily enough, they never once defended in-bar, which came to me as a bit of a surprise, but hey, apparently they didn't need to with their 5 victories on defense, and followed by a flawless round win on attack. 7-2 is the outcome, and hats down to Tempo Storm for getting their first ever Pro League win. Evil Geniuses unfortunately has some work to do to build their chemistry as they now are in last place. Fourth and final match was a different game compared to the rest, and was another upset, if you'd call it that, on Bank. Luminosity Gaming having been the king of surprises a lot this year, as they continue to win or get a draw when they maybe shouldn't have. The votes were hilariously in the favor of Space Station Gaming, but that comes with the fact that they own the social media side of Pro League. Whoever their person is running their Twitter does an awesome job because all the fans love them. But anyways, this was the most important match because Space Station Gaming and Team Reciprocity were both in the fight for third place. Space Station Gaming barely clutched the tie as Luminosity Gaming owned the first half defending. This now puts Space Station Gaming in third place and Luminosity Gaming struggling in sixth. Today had lots of great highlights and surprises, with Tempo Storm making history and bumping their way up past Evil Geniuses. Now that's it until the season invitationals, so until then, see John.
Scott, we're trying to survive the aftermath. Scott, you and I jumped into Surviving the Aftermath over on the Game Preview Pass for Xbox. I had a good time with this city builder experience.
Yeah, now this is worth noting that this is the third update. This is the Expeditions update, and they're still adding a lot to this game. Being that it's a work in progress, they give you that warning screen right at the start. They let you know that you might see some kind of weird things with this game.
That's good because I froze right at the start of the game, so that was kind of disappointing. I was looking forward to getting into this. I'm a big city builder fan.
Yes.
Just that genre as a whole, I love that genre. I grew up on SimCity. So to come into this side of things and have a different experience, a different take on it, because basically what happened is there's been an apocalypse, kind of cleared everything, and there's a limited number of survivors left, and that's how you start your community. And then you start rebuilding your community, and the tasks you're faced with can sometimes, the way it started for me, actually had a difficult time getting started.
Yeah, it's hard to learn kind of the ins and the outs about this game. Now, I kind of have an idea of that makes it a little easier. It's kind of a top-down Fallout shelter, dare I say.
Yeah, no.
There's a lot of similarities to it. You get above
Absolutely.
ground, but you kind of start off with a limited group of people. You
Yep.
get the ability to take on more people as time progresses, and that really gives you more, it affords you more ability to build outside of what you're used to. So
Yeah.
you have a guy who's scrapping metal, you have a guy who's scrapping plastic,
Yep.
and then you have maybe a tool maker or a clothing maker that takes both those
I have a lot of
items,
stuff right now.
and then they turn that into a more useful item, and the game kind of progresses this way. So it's all about learning what chains into which.
Yeah, absolutely. But the more survivors you have on board, the more you need to kind of keep them busy to help you progress and grow even more. Because the minute you have more people, that means now you need more food, you need more wood, you need more this, that, and the other.
More water and
Absolutely. So then you put down another well, but then you cut down like a water tank so you can store well, because disasters will come barreling through. And all of a
Yes.
sudden you get hit with a heat wave or a radiation storm will come radiating through the place.
and they
then-
all look really good. I have to mention
Yeah.
that
The
each
radiation
of these,
thing?
yeah, the radiation or the lightning storms were really spectacular and just coming down, and this game looks pretty good zoomed out, I have to say. Now, zoomed in, the details are kind of missing, but
That's the problem, right? I would love to have seen them being able to come right down on ground level, but they keep you up a little bit because the detail when you go in just isn't
just
quite
not
there
really
yet.
there,
So
yeah.
hopefully we'll get that graphical patch, and maybe another zoom in camera angle would be perfect, because you can take photo shots. So you can go in and do your screenshots and stuff, and then get even lower in with a screenshot than you can with the actual game camera,
Okay,
which I
so
thought
then-
that was kind of weird.
so it seems like they're planning maybe some more
There's-
HD updates.
There
to
are,
that.
yeah. So there are certain things coming. So you need to obviously manage your resources, but then you're presented with options too, which is cool. So someone will present you with, hey, I'm not very good at doing this, but I might be able to, with a couple of your resources, make some more clothing. And then you go, yes, no, or just forget it. And sometimes it just doesn't work out. I went, yes, and then the girl goes, I tried, but I just screwed up and we lost all this material. And I was like, no.
Yeah. Or you outfit
no.
you outfit a group to go exploring or hunting or something, and they come back and one of them's sick, and they have an irradiation poisoning or something like that. You
And then
have to
they're
deal with.
glowing, right? They're all this green glow.
I like the way they show it. Yeah.
Hey, it was pretty cool. But then you need your medical tents and everything else. And then, so you get this warning of you're going to have some kind of storm come through or this heat wave. So you're at least notified that when this disaster is coming, you have time to prepare. So if you're going to
Get
hit
all
with
of your crops up.
Exactly.
Put down water if you need it. Get some towers going. It gives you
Yeah.
a little bit of warning to get that going. Now, I really like the difficulty slider in this game. When you
That was
start this
cool.
game, there's
Very
a
cool.
ton of options to completely customize kind of what happens in which frequency.
Yeah.
So you can go all the way from basically the world is green already,
Yeah.
and people are starting to live outside of these Fallout shelter kind of things.
Yeah.
Or you can go, the world is still barren. It's like the apocalypse never ended.
Did you try that?
Yes, I went full difficulty,
And?
and I have to say, there didn't get too much difficult.
Really?
So like things were more aggressive for sure, and I had a smaller pool of survivors. That's another option.
Yep.
So there's many different options you go to tailor exactly how difficult, but I went full difficult. And I found that once I learned how to build kind of the chains of things, this item goes to this guy, to this guy, to this guy.
Right, yeah.
There wasn't much more difficulty beyond that. I was kind of just stuck at a wall of how fast can I spread out, and that was really the only factor, but nothing was going to eliminate me.
Yeah, that's fair.
So in that sense, it kind of stalled out for me.
Yeah.
But I do know there's more content coming to this game,
Yeah.
and there's an overworld to mess with, as well as your city builder. So this overworld that's where it gets really detailed, and this game can go quite long.
And you need to get out of your little camp and go outside. So you build this
Yeah.
gate at the front of your your little community. Then the minute you branch out of that, you get specialists. And these specialists allow them to go outside of the camp into the broader world and then venture off and look for other items and scraps and
Bandits
tech.
and tech.
Which is the biggest thing, because you need to find these little beacons that allow you then to get your skill tree to upgrade. And that skill tree is really, really detailed, but I found myself kind of, the minute I found a couple of those skill techs, I was able to just, boom, upgrade this, upgrade that,
Yeah.
upgrade this, which then introduced other buildings and a different
Now you
medical
can
building.
make power, and now you can
Exactly.
make more refined things.
It's so cool, though.
There's a good tree that they've set up here, and I just want to see the difficulty kind of keep you to that tree maybe a little closer. Because
Yeah.
I felt like I could be kind of frivolous with my resources. At a certain point, it didn't seem to matter too much.
No, I was just buying in bits of pieces of everything and just slowly progressing and making everything all in this one little encampment, and I had no problems. And then I go out and I venture into these bandits, and I'd be at a lower level because the bandits will have a level, and then your character, your survival specialist, will have a level as well.
Yeah, and their own stats kind of
Exactly.
tweak it.
So, but my stats were lower, and I still beat the crap out of this guy, and then took his stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, but I was able to, because I started off easy and progressed. I kind of had a hard time when they started the tutorial, and I found myself losing. But the minute it kind of clicked,
Yeah.
I just steamrolled over everything.
Yeah, once you learn kind of what it is to this game, the difficulty doesn't really last. That's the downfall.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cool opportunities for this game in the overworld. All this different character interaction leads for some good storytelling possibilities.
Yeah.
And you find vehicles and stuff that kind of get you around the map really quick. So there's a lot of possibilities. And trading is an interesting idea.
It is.
And other factions could be into it. So there's a lot of things that are about to be added to this game that I really would like to follow up on and see how that really works out.
Yeah.
But it's all more related to storytelling for me. I want to get into the story of this game, and I feel like there was a little bit of storytelling at the beginning when survivors are coming up to your gate, and
Sure.
it kind of tells you through that. But after that, it's just up to whatever you decide to do.
Yeah, it's
And
almost like you then, from there, you take it and make your own story.
yeah, I
right?
feel like that's kind of what they're going for. But
Yeah.
I would like to see a little bit more. Why did the fallout happen? Why is
A little bit more backstory and explanation of what's going on within the world and why is
Yeah.
there radiation pools like all over my map kind of thing. So yeah, a bit of a backstory later on would be nice. As we said, this is in Xbox Game Preview Pass, so it is in the preview program, which is a little earlier. So it's something for us to experiment with, test, try, and hopefully the developers then will hear our feedback and listen and see about adding a couple things here or there.
We can't exactly put a full number on this.
Nope.
But myself personally, I have to recommend this game. It was really cool in a lot of the things that it's trying to do, and I want to see it expand on that and get better and better. And I really think they have something here.
I do too. I agree with you. I think this is a great, solid start to the game. There are a couple technical issues. I was in the world map. My characters are like falling halfway through the world. A couple
Some
other little
text gets
things.
a little weird, yeah.
Yeah, the graphical issues could be a little more refined. That would be nice, especially when we get into that photo mode of things, because I would like to get some actual photos and lower my camera down, get some nicer angles, that sort of thing. The dialogue was pretty good. The options, I love the story options that come up within the game, but
Just
a little
wanna
bit
see
more.
more.
A
Just
little
wanna
bit
see
more with it.
more.
But if you're a fan of the city building apocalypse genre at all, I definitely recommend this one for you to pick up as well. Any fan of the city building genre should look at this title. Surviving the Aftermath may be in early development, but it's off to a great start. Rebuilding your community with difficult choices can lead you to surviving the next disaster. Scott and Drew would just like a bit more story in the future. All right, Scott, get ready to enter the Stormland. All right, Scott, you and I jumped into Stormland, Reclaim Your World. This was on the Oculus that we played. It was cool, dude. I like this game.
Yeah, now this is an Oculus title that is definitely a highlight. This one just came out. It's a big release, and it's kind of the biggest game in VR that I've seen, actually. I think I can say that.
Yeah, it's one of the top leading games for sure. If you are looking for that full game experience, I honestly feel that Insomniac did a great job, and that's what they bring here with Stormland. This is one of the coolest experiences I've had in VR because you play as a robot who basically your entire race is just wiped clean. And then you get the faction of there's humans there at one point in your world, and you're kind of trying to find out where they went and why they're no longer there. But then you got this other faction of robots that come in too that you have to deal with. And it's this battle back and forth, and you're on the hunt for some of your friends and things like this, like that. And then it's just, dude, what a story. It keeps you just hooked.
It's a very big story-driven experience, but that's not to say there's no combat or action. There is lots of combat and action. But the story, it really hammers it with you at the start.
Yeah.
You wake up and you discover that your friends are all gone and they're not anywhere to be found. And maybe there's little hints left here and there. You kind of follow those hints, try to figure out what happened to the people. But all the while, you're fighting this other race of robots. I don't know why you don't get along, but they present quite a challenge. There are several types of enemies that come at you, and sometimes they just drop in from drop pods and just ruin whatever you happen to be doing at the time.
Absolutely. The coolest part is, as you're venturing out into the world, you'll get these little holographic memories that play as you kind of progress through an area. But then it kind of gives you, that's how you're fed your backstory, and you kind of learn what happened and who you become and who you are and stuff. And some of those mechanics and features that in the game just really drive home what kind of game this is with all this holographic things. Like you can flip over your hand and all of a sudden you're clicking buttons because there's your objective, your index. Or, as we did last night, we were playing co-op, which is cool.
Multiplayer, yes.
Yeah, this game is so good. I absolutely love this game.
It's hard not to get excited about something like that, especially when you're playing this huge full package of a game, and then you just discover that there's co-op in there as well. So now I've never seen anything like that on VR. And for how it worked, I can speak to the quality of the motions and you fighting things versus me fighting things. I was never getting any instancing or two enemies, two different things happening. It was, we were playing the same game together. And that's really how this game should be played, I think.
Yeah, and you jumped in on my story too, which is great because I was a little bit further behind on you. And then we kind of were able to work together and get me caught up to where you were and keep going forward and stuff. It's really cool, really smooth. I had a couple glitches every once in a while that I got like completely froze. We were in the middle of a cutscene and it just and everything locked on me. And if you ever have that experience in VR when everything is locks,
it's very disorienting.
It's like flip the headset off because you're about to go over. It is one of those experiences I absolutely hate when it happens because it gets that jarring disconnect.
For me, I got one of those jarring screens, but I got stuck in the level. So I could, it was so weird because you have a visor thing that you can hit on your head, and that gives you little outlines of targets and shows you kind of what's interesting and what's not. I was able to hit that, and that's my only detection. So I couldn't see anything. It was like Daredevil. I was Daredevil, and I could just tap my head to get a wave of vision. But that was it. It was, a really weird kind of lock up there. I have had the game crash on me once other than that. Yeah, but that is the end of my issues. I believe that is all of the technical problems I have.
Everything else works. I've just been booted twice, which is a weird thing to happen, but it does happen. It is a video game. It could be my PC. You don't really quite know. Sometimes you can blame the game because you know that is the factor, but in this case, I don't know. I want to say it is the game that had effect on my PC that locked me out, but that is the only technical issue I've had. Everything else, from the voiceover and everything, the way they present the voices in the game and the characters that you meet are so different.
They
so
actually,
vast. And they're gorgeous looking, man. And they're right up in your face, and you're having a conversation with them. I'm just like, I'm looking like I'm just lost. My eyes are lost.
Well,
like I'm just
and,
lost.
And so how are they putting out that much emotion through a robot?
A static piece of metal.
Yeah, that's what they really did. They were able to sell characters and sell emotions on this. It was quite an experience.
They found us.
Scott, one of the good things I love about a game like this is always the ability to progress and customize my character to the playstyle that I see fit. And this has a huge scale tree that I didn't really expect coming into this game. I kind of thought you'd play your character, grab a couple guns, and that was it. But the minute I grabbed my left arm, ripped it off, and put it on my workbench, I was hooked.
Yep.
That was so sick. It was able to go in and you can fabricate other weapons and upgrade stuff, and you're always looking for alloy when you're going out there. So when you get this material, it allows you to upgrade and progress further in the game. And then you get into this holographic thing again where you can see a whole silhouette of yourself and you're clicking on different parts, and that's the coolest part. It kind of feels just like a movie when it comes out, there's a holographic table. Boom, there's my map. I flip this over, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. There's my map here, and you're ding, ding, ding.
All the holograms are beautiful, and they all
cool.
work exactly how they're supposed to, and that's the menus that you interact with everything through. It was all very clean.
Oh, perfect.
So especially towards the end of the game, the hologram leveling up is very important. You get a lot of these different sections of your body can be added to, but you also get these credits that you can unlock more sections and more sections. And I don't want to give away any spoilers, but later on in the game, that becomes very important to custom tailor kind of how you want your character to play. There's a lot of these enemies in the game get progressively stronger and stronger, and there's a lot of big ones too. And you need that extra firepower. So to have the workbench and to be able to customize your own character really adds a lot of depth to this game. You end up getting like level 4 weapons, which
is much appreciated when you get to that other level, right?
Because you're just spraying bullets at them eventually.
Dude, the minigun
if they're
was
not.
so awesome.
Oh, the minigun's a lot of fun.
Oh, it's so fun.
No, but jumping around in all these different fights, it's again jumping, double jump. You get different abilities that kind of change how you move around the map and stuff too. So I like that depth to this game. That really brings a lot of replayability.
Absolutely love this game. Scott, why don't we wrap this up? If you're going to score Stormland, what are you scoring this one on the Oculus?
There's really not a lot here for me to complain about. I had an amazing time, and open-ended with the way this game kind of trails off, I think we could see a lot more Stormland content coming down the pipeline. So I'm going to give this one a 9.5. I'm blown away by this game.
That was really high. I had a couple disconnects, and that's my only real main issue. Whether that was my fault or the PC or the system itself, who knows? But it did take me out of that experience, and that hurts, man. But there's so much content. The story is one of the best stories I played in a VR title. I'm there with a 9.
One of the most impressive VR shooters on the market. Great locations to explore, and a deep story makes this a must-play title.
Nate, that wraps up another episode. We had a jam-packed show this week. Now, each and every week, you guys hit us up at InsideTheGame.ca. We're there. You submit a clip, and we feature you to end off our show. Who do we have this week?
This week, we got a little bit of a featurette with my babes doing a sweet boss kill, her first boss kill, and a plague tail.
Thanks so much for sticking around. We'll catch you next week, Inside the Game.
One of us is going to die, and the winner...